Hello guys, welcome to the first video of Indian history. This video is about the life of Babur, Humayun and Akbar. Let's get started. NCERT class 7 chapter 4 we have the Mughal Empire, and we need to go through this Mughal Empire to know about the Mughals. And in NCERT class 7 again chapter 10 we have the 18th century political formulations, where the declining of Mughal India, the declining of the Mughal Empire, and the Mughal Empire during the 18th century, who all were there, what were the reasons for their declining, and everything is given. So we need to see to that chapter 4, and then we need to see to that chapter 10. And this chapter 10 is also the first chapter, the portion from the first chapter in the Modern India by Bipin Chandra. So this video is about the chapter 4 of the NCERT class 7, and then in the next video we link this chapter 10 and the chapter 1, the first portion of the chapter 1 from the Bipin Chandra book with this, so that we complete the Mughal formation. Now if you ask me, why is Mughal important? Why is this knowing about Mughal India important? So let's look into the UPSC question paper. See, before 2019, there has been hardly any question from the Mughal side. There has been hardly any question from the Mughal India if you talk of. But in UPSC paper 2019, if you see, the first question that was related to was, see, it was about Mughal India again. It was asking us about the difference between the Jagirdar and the Zamindar, and accordingly there were the two differences that was given, and we had to select the first one. This was the first question. There was another question where the second point was about Kabir Das, but the first one was about Akbar that we have, that Saint Nimbarka was a contemporary of Akbar. So if we have to know this answer, we have to know about Akbar, who was he and how can we relate the question here, and then we could select one answer. So for that we need to know about who is Akbar. Then we also have a question number 16, again from the 2019 paper, where the question is asking about the Mia Tansen. Now, if we know about Akbar, we'll know that yes, Tansen was in the court of the Akbar. And we can only know about Tansen once we know about Akbar, once we know about who was Tansen in Akbar's court. If we don't read about Akbar, we don't know about Tansen. If we don't know about Tansen, how do we assume ourselves to answer this question? So this was again the third question in the UPSC paper in 2019 itself. And then there was yet again another question from the Mughal emperor, which was there, that had that who shifted the emphasis from the illustrated manuscripts to album and individual portrait. Okay, so for this we have to know about Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir and Shah Jahan. Who were they? What were their original names? What were their architecture forms? What were their approach towards painting, towards manuscripts, towards everything that we need to know. So we need to know the basic details at least, so that if not the right answer, we at least are not unaware of who they are. This is it about this video that we need to know. So this is our chapter 4, the Mughal Empire, and we need to know about who all are here, what is this chapter about, and so that we can proceed further with our first chapter of Modern India from the Bipin Chandra book, and we don't have to look into this chapter again. So this is the introduction part, which says that ruling as a large territory of the Indian subcontinent with such a diversity of people and cultures, extremely difficult in the Middle Ages. So in this contrast, Mughals created an empire and accomplished which seemed impossible for the short periods of time that they had. And from the latter half of the 16th century, they expanded their kingdom from Agra and Delhi. So the latter half of the 16th century they expanded, and in the 18th century we see that this Mughal empire declined. They imposed structures of administration. So they had administration, the ideas of governance, political legacy that succeeding rulers of the subcontinent could not ignore. And today, the Prime Minister of India addresses on the Red Fort, which was in first place, the residence of the Mughal emperors. See, we know that everybody knows the basics of the Mughal empire, but I want to start from the very, very basics, so that we don't leave out any of the point that in the first place could be an answer or could be helpful to us as an answer. Then we come to who were the Mughals. See, if you see who were the Mughals were descendants from the two great lineages. From their mother's side, they were descendants of Genghis Khan, and they ruled over parts of China and Central Asia, who was there. And father's side, the successors of the Timur, the ruler of Iran, Iraq and modern-day Turkey. However, Mughals did not like to be called Mughal of Mongol, because Genghis Khan's memory was associated with the massacre of innumerable people. It was also linked with those Uzbeks, their Mongol competitors, On the other hand, Mughals were proud of their Timurid ancestry, not least of all because the great ancestor had captured Delhi in 1398. So this was why Mughals actually wanted to start with the Timurid side and not the Genghis Khan side. This was the reason. So now we first come to Babur. Who was Babur? What was the point of connotations for Babur and everything. So he was the first Mughal emperor from 1526 to 1530, succeeded to the throne of Fargana when he was forced to leave his ancestral throne, and then Uzbeks, after years of wandering, he seized Kabul, and in 1526 he defeated the Sultan of Delhi, Ibrahim Lodi, at Panipat. So the first battle of Panipat was Babur and Ibrahim Lodi in 1526. And Babur decided to stay in India. The ratio of the armies was 1:8. There was one question in UPSC paper that asked that all the three battles of historic battles, it had said the historic battles were fought in the Panipat 3 times. So what makes this Panipat so strong and so nice and so relevant? So for that, we first need to know that yes, in 1526 it was the first battle of Panipat that was fought between Babur and Ibrahim Lodi, and this was the entrance of the Babur to India. So this is all the table 1 charts that you don't have to think about. So we'll just proceed further. So we have Babur 1526 defeated Ibrahim Lodi and his Afghan supporters at Panipat. Then 1527 defeated Rana Sanga in Rajput rulers and allies at Khanwa. So it was called Battle of Khanwa. And Babur won the battle, and then he declared to his soldiers there that he won't drink wine. He abolished tamga. So what is tamga here? See, it is stamp and custom duties on Muslims. Why am I saying this? That UPSC has a pattern into this also, that it might give you tamga and stamp on customs duties, and accordingly it might ask you with 2 other points and say which has been matched correctly. You need to answer that. So this has been a sequence of UPSC. So we need to know about tamga. And then he declared jihad also, that is holy war. He also promised tax relief and the freedom to go to Afghanistan for whoever who do not want to remain a part here. So this was Babur again. We also have 2 more important battles with Babur. One is Battle of Chanderi, which was fought in 1528 against Medini Rai, and here also Babur won, and Medini Rai was defeated, killed, and the ladies performed Johar. And Medini Rai had helped Rana Sanga. Who was Rana Sanga? It was the war, the Battle of Khanwa. It was taken, and this is Battle of Chanderi that has been we've been talking of. And there was another battle which was the Battle of Ghagra. Battle of Ghagra, which was fought in 1529 against Muhammad Lodi. Afghans gathered against Babur. However, this time Babur was defeated and he escaped to Bengal. So this is it with Babur. Also, what are the facts about Babur? See, Babur called himself the Emperor of Hindustan. First point. Second, he died at Agra. He was buried at Aramghar in Agra. Then he was shifted to Kabul. And then he was physically very strong and stout. He composed the Turkish poetry in the name of Mubayya. So again, why do we need to know this? Because UPSC can make us match, or it can ask what is the poetry, or maybe Mubayya, where does it come from? Anything. So we don't want to take a risk there. So Mubayya is one important term here. So we studied from Babur. We studied 3 terms: Tamga, we studied Jihad, and we studied Mubayya. This is a poetry. Jihad was a holy war, and Tamga was the stamp and custom duties on Muslims. However, when Babur was dying, he said to Humayun, work hard in belief in Supreme God, and thus came Humayun. Humayun was 1513 to 1540 and 1555 to 1556, and then Humayun divided his inheritance according to the will of his fathers. His brother was given a province each, and then ambitions of his brother weakened Humayun's cause against the Afghan competitors, and then Sherkar defeated Humayun at Chausa and Kannauj, and thus there is a gap here. And then in Iran, Humayun received help from the Safavid Shah. He recaptured Delhi in 1555 but died the next year after an accident in this building, where he fell down from his own library. So let's know about the details of who Humayun was. See, Humayun was born on 17th March 1508. He was born at Kabul. Father was Babur and mother was Maham Sultana. Humayun was cordial, but he failed to translate into the state policy. So, to satisfy his brothers, as it's given here, he divided his kingdom. So, what did he do? He divided the Kabul and Kandahar to one brother, Mewat, and Hindal to another, and then Sambalpur to Askari, who was his another brother. So, this is what Humayun did with the divisions. Then there were two battles fought with him when he was in the reign. It was Battle of Chausa, that is given here in 1539, and then Battle of Kannauj, that is 1540. What was Battle of Chausa? It was near Buxar. So Battle of Chausa is near Buxar, but Battle of Buxar is also there, which comes when there is colonial rule already established. So this Battle of Buxar, the Battle of Chausa, it's not Battle of Buxar, do not confuse. Battle of Chausa was against Sher Khan or Sher Suri. He was in Babur's army when he fought against Medini Rai. So he fought against Medini Rai. What was that battle about? Medini Rai, it was Battle of Chanderi 1528. So in this Battle of Chanderi, Sher Suri had been there, fought against Medini Rai. He was there, but he wanted to expel Mughals from India. And thus here in Battle of Chausa, he attacked Humayun, and then Humayun managed to escape by jumping the Ganga river, and this is all not important. So Nizam Sher Khan declared himself the Badshah. Then came Battle of Kannauj in 1540. What happens in this? Just 1 year later, Sher Khan defeated Humayun. In 1545, he heard the news of the death of Sher Khan, who had defeated him in the Battle of Chausa. And then in 1555, in the Battle of Sirhind, he defeated Sikandar Suru, who was the successor of the Sher Khan, and once again he captured Delhi. So what are the facts about Humayun? See, he founded the city of Din Panha in Delhi. And then in 1556, he died after falling from the stair of his library, Sher-e Mandal. And then his sister Gul Badan Begum wrote Humayun Nama. So that was written by his sister. This is it with Humayun we get to know about, which is there in the NCERT chapter 4. Then we come down to Akbar. See, he was born in 1542 at Amarkot, Punjab, Pakistan, in the palace of King Veer Shah. So he was born in the Rajput ruler place. And then in 1556, the first thing, he declared Badshah at Kalanor when he was just 13 years old. He was born on 15th October 1542, born at Amarkot. Real name was Jalaluddin. Foster mother was Mahamanga and mother was Hamida Begum. Regent was Behram Khan. So this is first thing. Second, Akbar. See, Babur had the first battle of Panipat. Akbar has the second battle of Panipat. So he fought with Muhammad Ali Shah, the ruler of the Sur Empire, had appointed Hemu as Wazir with the title of Vikramjit and had the task of expelling Mughals. So Hemu captured Agra and Delhi. However, Behram Khan took steps to meet the situation, and then this battle was in the favor of Hemu. But there was an arrow hit him in the eye and he fainted, and then he was arrested and beheaded. So this is how the second battle of Panipat was won by Akbar. And then we see that Akbar had a liberal attitude. Akbar had force, he had conciliation. The Mansabdari was in this reign more, and then he was cemented with matrimonial alliances, diplomacy and pragmatic, and that you will see if you had seen the Jodha Akbar movie. You will get to know about that. So what all are the things that Akbar did? See, since childhood he came into contact with Sufism. So he annually visited the shrine of Sheikh Muinuddin Chishti at Ajmer, and then in 1562, that is in this reign only, he abolished slavery. In 1563 again he abolished pilgrim tax. Then he abolished jizya in 1564, but at the end of his period he reintroduced it. Then in 1571, that is now in this reign, what he does, he shifts the capital to Fatehpur Sikri from Agra. Then in 1575, he set up Ibadat Khana, hall of worship at Fatehpur Sikri, religious discussion, which is held on every Thursday evening. And this has been a question in UPSC, where the UPSC is asking that what is Ibadat Khana, and there are 4 options. So in that 4 options, the right answer is hall of worship at Fatehpur Sikri. So it is in hall of worship, not place of prayer. So this has been a question, remember that. Then converted Ibadat Khana into parliament of religion, because he realized that religious discussions could not be possible without other religions. So in 1578 he converts the Ibadat Khana into the parliament of religion. Then in 1582, in this reign, he sets up Din-e-Hilai, which is also known as Sul-e-Kul, meaning universal harmony, and also known as Tawind-e-Hilai. So Din-e-Hilai was made by Akbar, which is one of the biggest reforms that he's done. And in this, it wasn't a religion but a code of conduct or code of duties, where repulsion of anger was seen, or non-attachment to the materialistic world was seen, or dedication of soul and the love of God was seen. So this was important. So in this Din-e-Ilahi, chief priest was Abul Fazl. First to accept Din-e-Ilahi was Birbal, and the chief advisor of Akbar was Mir Abdul Latif. So this was one thing about Akbar. Then he adopted the title of Zil-e-Hilai, that is the shadow of God on earth. He also banned polygamy. He was an expert of Nagara kind of drum. So this is important. Why? Because he was an expert of Nagara. So if asked, if the question is there that Akbar did not have any music in his reign or something like that, so we know that no, he was an expert of Nagara. It is a kind of drum. Then he set up a department of painting headed by Abdus Samad. And then he tried to ban sati, and he legalized widow remarriage, but both of them were not successful. Then he fixed marriageable age 16 for boys and 14 for girls, and during Akbar's time period, European painting was introduced in the court. So this is also one thing that is important, that yes, he took social measures, he took religious measures, and he took to the distinction that could be made in the society. So whenever we are writing answers on society or anything, then we can write this, that yes, in history also it is said that those people realized this as an evil thing and they took some steps towards it. Then in 1588 he introduced a rod for measuring land called Gaz-e-Hilai. So this we also need to know, that what is Gaz-e-Ilahi. It is a rod for measuring the land, and Akbar is enemy of Islam historian Ahmad Yadgar. So this is with Akbar. Before, we need to know about the 9 gems of Akbar. Now, when we look into 9 gems of Akbar, we'll first go through Birbal. So who was Birbal? The real name was Mahesh Das. He was from Jhansi, and he was famous for his wisdom and was a close friend of Akbar. So this was the first gem of Akbar. Then we come to Tansen. Who was Tansen? Tansen was the Ramdanu Pandey. He was a renowned musician. So Akbar gave him the title Mia, that is learned man. So once we look into the question, we'll see that Tansen was not the title given by Akbar. It was Mia Tansen that was given by Akbar. The title Mia was given by Akbar. Tansen was already named as Tansen before he came to the court of Akbar. So the first statement is incorrect. Then what do we have? He was a disciple. This Tansen was the disciple of Swami Haridas. He was in the court of Gwalior Raja Man Singh Tomar before Akbar, and he also joined the court of Ramchandra Baghela of Rewa. So this is it about Tansen. Then we come to Abul Fazl. Who was Abul Fazl? He was a great scholar. He was a capable commander-in-chief. He wrote Akbari and Akbarnama, which is in Turkish. Then we come to Faizi. Who is Faizi? He was a great Persian poet, Abul Fazl's brother. So he was Abul Fazl's brother only, and he translated Lilavati in Persian. And Lilavati was what? Lilavati was written by Bhaskaracharya in 6th century AD, a renowned book on mathematics. Then we have Raja Todarmal. Todarmal was originally the Diwan of Sher Shah Suri. He was a good administrator. He contributed in fixing the land revenue. So this was Raja Todarmal. Then we have Raja Man Singh. He was commander and played a diplomatic dynamic role in the expansion of Mughal Empire. Then we have Abdul Rahim Khan. He is the Khani Khana Rahimat Dhaga Prem Ka, the code that is there, the Rahim Das and Kabir Das. So this Rahim is this Abdul Rahim Khani Khanan, he was the son of Bairam Khan. Who was Bairam Khan? Bairam Khan was the regent, the caretaker of Akbar. So he was the son of that Bairam Khan and a scholar of Persian, Turkey and Hindi. He translated Babarnama from Turkish to Persian. And then we have Fagir Aziauddin, which is our principal of Government School of Mughal and a very close friend of Akbar, just like Birbal. Then we have Mullando Piazza. Why is he named this? Because he loved onions and famous for his wisdom and a great friend of Akbar again. So this is the Navratna, the 9 gems of Akbar, and this is it, everything about Akbar.